She didn't hesitate when she made her decision. She stood across from me, calm, composed, and painfully certain, and told me she had chosen another man. There were no tears, no wavering, no apology strong enough to soften the impact. I listened without interrupting, feeling something inside me quietly power down. I didn't argue or ask questions. I already knew the answers. I nodded once, picked up my jacket, and walked out without looking back. In that moment, I believed it was over for good. For the audience, this is where the story begins, quietly, without shouting or drama. Walking away felt like the only way to preserve my dignity. I thought distance would erase the pain, close the chapter, and end everything cleanly. I was wrong, but at the time, certainty felt like survival. Leaving felt like strength, not loss, just finality. The weeks that followed were silent and heavy. I moved into a small apartment, surrounded by unfamiliar walls and routines with no shared memories. Friends reached out cautiously, unsure what to say. I kept my responses brief and honest. She chose someone else, and I chose to leave. I avoided her name, her places, and anything that might pull me back. Healing wasn't dramatic, it was repetitive and isolating. Work, sleep, exercise, and long evenings with my thoughts slowly filled the days. Gradually, the pain softened. I convinced myself I had accepted the ending. I believed closure came from discipline, not hope. For the audience, this phase matters because real recovery is quiet. I didn't check her social media or ask for updates. I told myself some endings don't need explanations. I truly believed I would never see her again. That belief brought a fragile sense of peace that felt earned, stable, and permanent, at least for a while. 3 months later, life had settled into a rhythm I trusted. I wasn't happy, but I was steady. Then one evening, an unfamiliar number appeared on my phone. It was her. She said she hoped I was well and asked if we could talk. My first instinct was to ignore it completely. I had walked away for a reason, but curiosity has a quiet pull. I agreed to meet briefly, telling myself it would be closure and nothing more. For the audience, this is where the tension returns. When someone who chose another path suddenly reappears, old wounds reopen without warning. I reminded myself I was stronger now. I believed I was ready for whatever she might say. I thought time had armored me. As I walked toward the meeting place, I felt calm on the surface, unaware that the conversation ahead would challenge everything I believed I had healed, resolved, and left behind for good. When she arrived, she looked different. The confidence she once carried was gone, replaced by uncertainty and weariness. She apologized before sitting down, then hesitated, as if unsure which version of herself to show. She said things hadn't turned out the way she imagined. The other man wasn't who she thought he was. She said she missed the stability and understanding we once shared. I listened quietly, offering no response. For the audience, this is the emotional reversal. The woman who once walked away now stood searching for reassurance. I didn't interrupt or challenge her version of events. I simply observed. She spoke of regret, confusion, and realizing too late what she had lost. Hearing her struggle was unsettling. I felt sympathy, but not hope. Something essential inside me had shifted. The man she left behind no longer existed in the way she remembered. And that realization hung silently between us, heavier than any argument ever could have been. Then she said something that truly stunned me. She admitted that choosing him wasn't about love, but about escape. She wanted excitement, validation, and freedom from responsibility. That confession hurt more than the betrayal itself. It meant our relationship hadn't failed, it had been taken for granted. For the audience, this is where heartbreak turns into understanding. She asked if there was a chance to start again. The question lingered painfully in the air. I realized that walking away had changed me. I wasn't angry anymore, but I wasn't willing to return either. Silence filled the space as I considered what self-respect now demanded. I saw clearly that love without commitment becomes convenience. She waited for my answer, hopeful and afraid. I understood her pain, but I also recognized my own growth. Some doors close not because of hatred, but because reopening them would undo the strength it took to walk away in the first place. I told her the truth calmly. I said I forgave her, but forgiveness didn't mean going back. I had rebuilt my life without her, learned how to exist without waiting, and found peace and certainty. Returning would mean reopening wounds I had already healed. She cried softly, nodding as if she finally understood. For the audience, this is the real shock. People expect reunion or dramatic rejection. They don't expect composed finality. I stood up, wished her well, and left first. This time, walking away again felt different. It felt chosen, not forced. Outside, the air felt lighter. I realized I wasn't running from pain anymore. I was protecting growth. Closure didn't come from her apology. It came from my decision to honor who I had become. Leaving that meeting, I understood something clearly. Strength isn't proven by staying. Sometimes it's proven by refusing to go backward, even when invited to do so gently. Word spread among friends quickly. Some were surprised I didn't take her back. Others quietly admired the restraint. She struggled with the consequences of her choice while I continued forward. For the audience, this part carries the lesson. Closure doesn't come from answers. It comes from becoming someone who no longer needs them. I didn't win anything. I simply refused to lose myself twice. Life moved on steadily. I focused on work, health, and rebuilding trust in my own judgment. Occasionally, memories surfaced, but they no longer controlled me. The shock wasn't that she returned, it was that I no longer needed her presence to feel complete. I had walked away once in pain. This time, I walked away in clarity. That difference mattered. It marked the moment I truly understood the cost of staying too long where I was no longer chosen freely or fully, and why leaving had saved me in ways I couldn't see before. Looking back, she chose another man, and I walked away believing it was the end. I never expected her return. But what shocked everyone, including me, was what followed. I chose myself without anger, revenge, or regret. For the audience listening, remember this. Walking away doesn't always end a story, but it changes who you are when the story tries to return. I didn't close the door out of bitterness. I closed it with peace. And that quiet decision reshaped my future. I learned that dignity isn't loud. It doesn't argue or explain. It simply chooses better. When she left, I lost a relationship. When I refused to return, I gained clarity. Sometimes the most powerful ending isn't reconciliation or revenge. It's the moment you realize you are no longer willing to accept love that arrives only after being lost. And that realization, more than her return, changed everything forever.